The Warriors get their first road win of the season. Oh my goodness. All right, welcome to Dubs Talk Live, presented by FitAid with Warriors insider Monte Poole. I'm Kerith, Burke. They did it behind 3 20 points or more performances. The or more would be, especially for Klay Thompson tonight, 41 points, 10 3-pointers, 10 of 13 from 3. What was the moment for you where you're like, ooh, this is a Klay game?
When he made his first 4 shots, then he made 2 more shots. He got a couple of easy ones in there, but when he hit the third 3-pointer, I thought, okay, look out. I mean, because he hadn't missed any. And so, and Klay is a rhythm guy. And, that's what he's been looking for the entire season. That's what he's been looking for. He's one of those guys, and there aren't many guys like this in the NBA, who, when he makes 4 or 5 or 6 shots from 3, that could be 7, 8, or 9, or 10 or 11 or 12. You just don't know when it's going to stop. So in a sense, yeah, the floodgates did come open. And when that happens, you see Steph Curry feeding him, milking him. It's what you should do. I mean, Klay has needed this game. He's had some good games, but this is his best game by far in terms of offense. He was productive, he was efficient, and he didn't rush anything. He took good shots, and he made most of them.
Steph feeding everybody. 15 assists, only 1 turnover. But back to Klay. He backed up his performance against the Knicks, where he had 20 points, but he did it very efficiently, 8 of 16 shooting. And the efficiency part, that was very important from Klay, because at the start of the season, there were some frustrating moments, not even the start of the season, recent moments, let's say, where, frankly, he was chucking. He was putting pressure on himself, and Klay, wanting to get himself going and bust out of his slump, interrupted the offense for everybody else. But something happened. There was a team meeting, and that seemed to change things, because now you can see the offense in 2 games now flowing a lot better. The assists are showing up, the most assists of the season with 38. You can see a change in the Warriors. Yeah,
I mean, they were playing at times, and it wasn't just Klay, but they were playing at times for themselves. And I think when they had that team meeting, it had to be, okay, guys, we can all do for ourselves, but we won't go anywhere unless we do for each other, unless we become a we instead of an I. We got to be a we. And I think that's what happened. You saw it against the Knicks, where, especially with Klay there, where early on there were some shots that he might have taken a week ago. Move the ball. And they had to convince him that, remember, Klay, when the ball is moving, chances are if you keep moving too, it's probably going to find you. Oh, yeah, it'll come back to you. Yeah, and when it finds you, you'll have a better shot than the one you didn't take. So I think you're seeing that now. Klay believed in that now. I mean, Draymond obviously had a big voice in that, but this was an example of Klay taking his time and making shots. And once he's in that rhythm, he can fire away. And at that point, almost anything he throws up will go in. Yeah, 41 points for Klay. Obviously his season high. Teammates feeding him to keep him hot the whole game. Let's hear from Draymond reflecting on the night Klay had.
He's being Klay Thompson. He is not worried about what happens with Klay. He's worried about what happens with this team. And when Klay worries about what happens with this team, Klay plays great and we win. And, I've always said he's the most competitive guy that I've ever played with, and the most important thing to him has always been winning. At times, we all get away from who we are, and in a brotherhood, you need someone to bring you back to who you are. And I think, I have no doubt in my mind that if it was me, he'd do the same thing. In a brotherhood, you want somebody to be honest with you. And everybody wanted to be honest with Klay in support of Klay. And this is what you get when you have some hard truths, some elephants in the room, but this is how you come out of it. Yeah, I mean, that's why, again, Klay, there were people out there, and, I don't know if you want to call them fans or whatever you want to call them, but there were people out there, Klay shouldn't be starting, Klay this, trade Klay. I mean, there was some wild stuff going on for a while because Klay had a rough 3 weeks, okay? And defensively, he wasn't the guy that he had been before he had the 2 catastrophic injuries. And I don't know if he'll be that guy again ever, but his shot is not going to abandon him. That's the last thing. He can probably shoot when he's 60. Yeah. Just because his shot is so pure. It's one of the purest shots you've ever seen in the NBA. So it's going to be there for him. He was rushing it, and it looked a little off because he was rushing it. Fall back into yourself, play your game, play it at your pace,
and watch what happens. And these last 2 games are an example.
Yeah, one more thing I want to talk about with Klay Thompson, because he did say post-game, he acknowledged that he could hear some of the chatter about him, some of the doubts when he was in the slump. He said the internet trolls were getting to him, which for a player to admit that he's hearing the talk or even seeking it out, just kind of scrolling and scrolling. I remember when I sat down and did the Globetrotters story with him, he was looking at his phone before we got started. And I didn't want to be too nosy, but I could tell that it was something about the Warriors. It was something about Klay. It was bothering him.
Yeah.
And he talked to me, he said, like, they just don't get it. Like, you could tell how bothered he was. I told him to throw his phone in the ocean. I hope that was a good idea.
Yeah.
But the point that, you know, it was sort of compounding the things that he was going on. Maybe not healthy to read your own stuff when everybody, you know, has an opinion about what you should do to bust out of it.
Well, it depends on who you are. I think if you want to troll Steph,
he doesn't care. He likes the jokes, actually. If it's a good joke, he'll laugh.
I mean, it ain't going to affect him at all.
Yeah.
Klay's a different breed. And so in Klay's case, again, and some of this doubt is because, you know, when you're away from the game as long as he was, you do maybe have some doubts in the back of your mind. Can I get back to where I was? So you're getting people telling you that you're garbage, you're trash. You know, this is basically what they're saying. And in the back of his mind, he's thinking, can I get back to be where I was, an all-star caliber player? And so that probably fed into what he was trying to do. He was trying so hard to be that guy that it threw him off what made him great. And now you're seeing what made him great. You're seeing him do that because he's been given the license to do that. He's been told, Klay, trust us. We're here with you.
Yes.
You know, we're all with you here. You'll be great again, but you got to do it this way. You remember how you did it before? Do it that way again.
With teammate support, this really helped Klay get back to being Klay. All right, teammate support. We talked about those 15 assists from Steph Curry. He could score in his own right. We got a leaping night in this game. 33 from Steph, and I keep going back to 15 assists with 1 turnover. He was instrumental for this win. Yeah,
I mean, Klay owned the first half pretty much. The first quarter, 20 points in the first quarter, and Klay had 25 in the first half. Steph had 25 in the second half. You know, and guess what? They all were needed, you know, for him to come out and play as well as he did in the first quarter specifically, and even in the first half. He mostly was a bystander for what Klay was doing. He was setting Klay up, feeding Klay. He had 7 assists in the first quarter.
That's wild.
Yeah, so that tells you what he was doing. But in the second half, you know, when third quarter come out, the Warriors were down 4 at halftime, and at the end of 3, they're up 3 because Steph got it going. And at the end, I think Steph shot that night shot was the shot that kind of put. Okay, good night, Rockets. Go to bed now.
Okay, the Rockets, 3 wins this season. This was a team the Warriors really needed to beat up on. Give some credit to the Rockets for having the lead at halftime. The Warriors had an 18-point lead in the first quarter. They trailed by 4 at halftime. Steph had to play a role. Klay played a role. Andrew Wiggins played a role. The Warriors can start following the hot hand when the ball is moving around. Monte and I were talking about this. We have not given Andrew Wiggins a lot of love this season. Either we're talking about Steph's heroics or some trouble for the other guys or who's not playing, but Wiggins has been dependable. 20 points. Wiggins. 22 points tonight for Andrew Wiggins, 36 minutes, and he is showing up for his team.
Andrew Wiggins, the last 7 games, 53% from the field, 45% from 3. It's so quiet, you know, because you're worried. You're looking at Steph doing all his heroics and the magical stuff he does on the court. But Andrew is balling. I mean, his defense is not at all defensive team level, but it's been mostly good. But his offense has been so efficient. You know, it's like he settled in and become that third option that the Warriors really need on offense. And he's averaging almost 20, just a shade below 20 points over those last 7 games. But to shoot 53 from the field and 45 from 3, from your third guy, that's special.
So 3 20-point players or more, obviously. One of those, Steph Curry. He just sat down at the podium. Let's hear from him.
It felt great. I mean, you know, didn't sit well with us, our 0-8 record and all that. And obviously we had to scratch and claw to get this one, but it's kind of how the season's been going so far. So to get that monkey off your back and, you know, get a win, feel good about yourselves outside of Chase Center, it matters. You just got to try to continue to build, that momentum as best we can.
That way, put some extra juice in the night.
No, that was just because I surprised myself with that shot, but more so the celebration when the clock was going down. When we were running out the clock, me and Draymond put our hands above our heads like we really won something. Just kind of making fun of, our slow start on the road, but it was a good win.
That you still surprise yourself sometimes?
Yeah, it was like you don't really choreograph the stuff. You kind of just, you try to make reads, and even that one was kind of just a Hail Mary type situation to close it out. But I like to have fun too.
What did you see from that young Rockets team tonight?
I mean, they're very talented. KPJ has some, a lot of skills in his bag, and when he's knocking down shots, he's tough to guard. They really test you in one-on-one defense because everybody can kind of create their own shot, and when they're shooting well, they're tough. So just a matter of kind of sticking with it. Even when we got stops, it was tough to even get rebounds because they were pretty athletic and pretty physical. So took everything to get it done.
Vintage Splash Brothers performance, if you will, you going 33, getting 41. What's that like?
It was huge for us to get, or for us and for Klay, the way he started the game, because everything seemed pretty in the flow, in the rhythm, and easy, if you will, in terms of the shots that he was making. Obviously, the shots themselves aren't easy. He put a lot of work into it, and again, we've never lost confidence in what he can do, putting the ball in the basket. But the way that we were creating shots early was a fun way to play the game. We got to, we got some good separation early. And then the way he finished, down the stretch into the third quarter, that shot was huge. He had some big ones in the fourth. So it all is connected, how he started carried throughout the game because he got his confidence going and the ball was moving all over the court, finding the right guy.
He always talks about how he uses the work that he did with you as a rookie as kind of a blueprint to help Jalen and Jabari Smith and some of the guys that he works with now. Is there anything that you remember from that time that has kind of stuck with you throughout your career?
This is the attention to detail on, how your individual skill set is kind of catered to what the team is trying to do, and how you can build confidence through just seeing the floor. We spent a lot of time doing a lot of film study on, pick and roll, creating good shots, trying to, make the right decision defensively, trying to just be in the right spot, even though I feel bad for Coach Silas because he didn't have much to work with me on the defensive end back then. Come a long way, since then. But it's just a matter of, the care factor on holding yourself to a high standard on a daily basis and just trying to get better. And, he's been around a lot to see that. So we had some good days for sure.
If not the way that you all wanted to start your season about record-wise, what is it like having so many veterans in that locker room that you all can pull yourselves together, even without having to have Coach Kerith talk to you all? You all have been through this before, and to be able to just have that veteran-led team to get to where you all need to be.
I mean, it's just the earned confidence that we've developed over these years, and we know each other so well, so you can always fall back on the tendencies that have created success. And then the hard job and the most rewarding job is how you pass it on to the new guys and the young guys to try to elevate their abilities to, impact winning, whatever that means. So we've been together a long time, and, it shows itself in terms of, like you say, just the composure and confidence that we can have on a nightly basis.
Talk about how long you guys been together overall, but can you just go back to your rookie season and just, if you could have words of advice to give to this young Rocket team, what would you share with them in order for them to one day probably build something similar to what you guys have been able to do?
Just I think the biggest thing is understanding what the value of everybody brings to the table, and again, it has to impact winning. There's a sense of sacrifice that comes, throughout those early years of understanding what you can do on a nightly basis, whether it's defensive end, whether it's being a hustle guy, being a playmaker to set up other guys for shots. Like, you find that nice balance where you know what everybody's bringing to the table, and then when that impacts winning, you get rewarded by that, not just with wins, contracts, the ability to come back year after year and keep trying to elevate to a championship type of team. So it's a long journey. That's the biggest thing. It's a long journey, but you have to embrace, some of the hard lessons and the tough stretches you go through and not lose your confidence along the way.
I used to watch you just a couple of years ago when I was in college or whatever case people in the G League. Did you really hear them say that to you, knowing that you're still playing at such a high level yourself?
A little bit, but I used to do that to guys that I watched play against. Like, I did that to Vince Carter. He played with my dad, and I got to play against him. So there's, from my standpoint, I used to be that kid doing the same thing. So it is kind of cool to be on the other side of it and still, trying to be playing at a high level. Embracing both the fact that I have hopefully a lot left in the tank, and there's guys that have been watching me for a long time.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by FitAid, the #1 post-workout recovery drink in America. Try now and visit drinkfitaid.com.
Hey guys, how are you? We are up on YouTube, and I like scrolling through these comments and seeing that Shannon is saying, oh yeah, Wiggs has been Mr. Consistent, love to see it. He had such big threes tonight. Yes, one thing I didn't mention is that 3 players had 6 or more threes in the game. That's some sharing basketball.
They shot, Steph, Klay, and Wiggs shot to combine 23 or 38 from 3.
Man.
I mean, that's some fancy shooting.
Yeah.
We're talking about 60%.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
And Wiggins has been playing, he's been shooting 45 from 3 over the last 7 games. And his last 7 games, which it's about a 2.5-week span. Klay obviously was struggling until the last 2 games. And Steph has been just out of his mind all season.
Yeah, I'm looking at 24 made threes for the Warriors. As a team, they shot better than 51%.
That's wild.
Ooh,
That's
fan
wild.
those flames.
Well, when Klay gets 10 and 13,
Fan
that helps.
those flames. Nicolas says we're having problems on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Guess what we're going to talk about in our next block?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Catherine says, hi, Kerith and Monte. Happy Sunday.
What's up?
Yeah, it's much happier Sunday for the Warriors now that
Yeah,
they got this
yeah.
one.
I mean, this has kind of been a little bit of a burden on them, a monkey on their back, so to speak. And that, you might say it doesn't matter that much that whether you win at home on the road, but when you haven't won a road game,
Yeah.
you're one of there were 3 teams I think that hadn't won a road game, and now there's 2. So,
And when one of those teams
Yeah.
is the defending champion, that
Yeah.
looks really weird.
and when 3 of those 8 losses came against the 3 worst teams in the East,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
it's bad luck.
So they got it. This is the first game of a back-to-back. Tomorrow they play the Pelicans, and we will talk about that too.
Tougher game.
Yeah. Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live, presented by FitAid. We talked about a lot of great stuff off the top of the show, but there is one theme that we probably should identify, a trouble spot that remains for the Warriors, and that is defending without fouling. The Rockets 23 for 27, and all of this fouling from the stripe, all of this fouling interrupts the pace at which the Warriors want to play.
Yeah, and a lot of that came in the second quarter where they had the second unit out there, and I think the Rockets got free throws like in the first 2 of their first 3 possessions. They got free throws.
They went in the bonus very quickly too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so, what happens is that the second unit had I think 5 turnovers in the second quarter, and the Rockets scored 8 points off those turnovers. Some of them were field goals, some of them were free throws. But when you turn the ball over, you're not giving your defense a chance to set. And you're playing, and then transition defense is something that Steve Kerr has been hammering. And the second unit came out there and had a 12-point lead to start the second quarter. And less than 3 minutes, the lead was down to 1.
Wild swings of momentum in this game, in the first half anyway.
Yeah, and then they got another bucket. So they were 13-0 to start the second quarter, and the Warriors' second unit was out there looking around. It didn't go well, and it's been a theme this season that the second unit has been struggling on offense and on defense. Tonight, it could have hurt them, but it didn't hurt them because the first unit was so good.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to something Draymond said. I believe it was Draymond about when you're on the road, the margins feel a lot slimmer as well. And when you look at what the Rockets were doing, they have a group of young guys. We're talking about the young guys for the Warriors. The Rockets, all of their guys who are starting, with the exception of Eric Gordon, who's 33, we're talking about they have one teenager, and then they have guys who are in their early 20s.
Yep.
They played like they wanted it a lot more than the Warriors' second unit did.
Yeah, I mean, there was a certain focus that was there, I thought, and a certain intensity that was there. The Warriors' second unit tonight, and a lot of games so far this season, they just look like they're 5 guys trying to figure out what to do. And you should already know what you want to do, and especially on offense. And so, but when offense and defense are both, when you're doing that on both ends, trying to figure things out, that's how you get worked. And they got worked in like no time flat, and the lead was gone like that. So that's a coaching issue. That's also a player issue. That's also a focus issue in terms of just remember who you're guarding and how you guard them. And when you have the ball, take care of the ball. There are certain passes you cannot make in the NBA, you cannot get away with. And sometimes they're still doing that.
There are 3 players that the Warriors tried to turn to in this game. JK, Moody, Lamb, none of these guys played. I mean, Kuminga had about 6:30. But between them, combined, 2 points, 4 turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Lamb was great for 3 or 4 games there. I think he's now kind of, fallen back, obviously. The last couple games, he hasn't been very good. Tonight was one of those nights when he played 4 minutes, and he wasn't very good, wasn't very effective. So, and you knew what he was doing earlier was not sustainable, but it's gone off a cliff. And so they got to find another possibility there. Maybe Moses Moody.
We've got a chicken or an egg thing. It's clear these guys need some experience. They need the reps, but when they're on the floor, they're not doing so great, so they can't be there.
There could also be a little bit more of that sort of, toggling between the starters and the reserves and kind of mixing them up a little bit.
All right, so this was the first game of a back-to-back when Dubstock Live presented by Fit Aid returns. We're going to look ahead to that Pelicans game and what it could mean for Jordan Poole. Dan says second unit needs to work more. Yes, it's like, but where? How? You know what I mean? And this is a Warriors problem because I don't think the coaching staff knows.
I suspect that the coaching staff is aware of it. I think. A lot of it is Jordan.
Knows how. I mean, because there's not practices, not scrimmages.
Jordan is a terrific player with great talent, but he doesn't play the same way with the stars as he does with the second unit. And so he has more responsibility when he's playing with the second unit. And I think he has to understand that. And that means taking some shots that are smart, but it also means getting guys together and running the offense as well as the first unit does. Now, if you can't do that, I understand why, because the first unit guy's been doing it for years. So this is going to take a little while. But also, you've got to take care of the ball. Jordan had a game where he had 0 turnovers.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a couple games ago.
I just looked at this. Like, did he have 0 turnovers? I really thought he had 1. But he right here, 0 turnovers.
Yeah, he had no turnovers tonight.
Yeah, and 4 assists.
Yeah. So it's when you have the guys out there that you're trying to learn how to play with, it's hard to be cohesive. And that's what they haven't been. And I think you might see more. I think Draymond might get more time with that second unit. He saw some of that tonight where he goes out there because he can move the ball. He can be sort of an assist guy for those guys and give Jordan a little bit of a break from the assist duties, playmaking duties. So that's still a work in progress, but that defense has to be fixed.
Yeah. Some comments here. Cleon says hello from Trinidad. Thank you so much for
Trinidad,
watching.
yeah.
Aaron C says we need to play Moody more. make a case there. We have to go back, but Steve Kerr explained why Moody. Welcome back to Dubstock Live, presented by FitAid. The Warriors might already be on the plane. They've got to go to New Orleans. We are unclear at this time if Klay Thompson is not playing. Klay says he doesn't know. That's something the training staff needs to establish. If I had to guess, especially because he played 36 minutes tonight, he will not play tomorrow. That seems to be the track record for the training staff. Might be hard to keep him off the court after a 41-point performance. You know, he wants to keep that going. But let's just say, for the sake of conversation, Klay is not playing tomorrow. That would probably mean Jordan Poole moves into the starting lineup. He plays really well as a starter, but we need consistent performances from Jordan, whether he's starting or whether he's coming off the bench. Yeah, Jordan needs to be good. I mean, we're going to assume he will start in place of Klay, and he has been pretty good there. But it's easier to be good when you're playing next to Steph Curry, of course, than when you're playing next to, well, pretty much anybody. You know, Steph is a difference maker, and our defenses look at Steph as a five-man squad. They're all looking for Steph. And so for Jordan, it makes life a lot easier. Now, tomorrow night, he'll have that advantage, and he can take advantage of that because C.J. McCollum is probably going to try to guard him. And C.J. McCollum is not a great defender. Okay, not great. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets off. But I think a guy who has to come off the bench tomorrow, I think that needs to give them something is Kuminga. Okay. Because this is the kind of team, I mean, New Orleans is big. They're athletic. I mean, Zion and Nance Jr. and Herb Jones and Ingram. You got a bunch of guys that are rangy and athletic. That's Jonathan's game. That's what he needs. He played only six minutes tonight. He needs to play well tomorrow. And I think if he plays well, the Warriors can win a tough back-to-back game against a team in their house where the Pelicans going to be in the playoffs, one way or the other, whether it's playing. But they're going to be a top 8 team in the West, I'm pretty sure. So if J.K. can give them something off the bench tomorrow, that would be a huge lift for that team. So you want to see him go downhill. You want to see him grab rebounds. You want to see more aggressiveness. Yes, you want to see him get in the mix of things, especially on defense, because he has to be, if he comes in, he's got to defend somebody who can score. And it's going to be whether it's Ingram or Nance and keep those guys off the glass. Those second chance points will kill the Warriors. They've done it before. They had some today. They can't have them tomorrow night. Okay, so the Warriors got their first road win of the season. Can they make it to Monte? That's getting greedy. That's getting greedy. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching Dubstock Live presented by FitAid. We'll see you on the podcast or on YouTube. All right, guys. Actually, one thing we didn't talk about was the minutes tonight. Steph Curry needing to play 37 against the Rockets. That's a lot. Not ideal. Yeah, but you see the Warriors are trying to go to other players, and they can't do it with Lamb, Kuminga, and Moses. Well, I mean, let me answer that question for the fella here who was like, we need to play Moses Moody more. Why is Steve Kerr not making that decision? Well, I mean, turnovers are an issue, and he had one tonight where it was made me think about what Steve had said, which is that Moses has to understand that you can't make those traffic passes you might have made in college in the NBA. A little shovel. Yeah, and he made one tonight. He was in the corner, and he tried to shovel one through, and it didn't make it, and it was a turnover, and next thing you know, the Rockets are going the other way. And I thought that's exactly what he's talking about. So I think Moses will get better, but he's trying to make a play. And he has to understand that at this level, what might have worked at Arkansas 2 years ago ain't going to work in the NBA, especially when you're facing a team like the Rockets who are long and athletic and rangy. Against most teams, they won't work. So I think he'll fix that. Moses just has to keep getting better at both ends, but he has a head for the game. He has to use it all the time. Yeah, he does. I really liked your podcast interview with him. Monte and I are taping another podcast episode tonight, so thank you for listening, and thank you for watching us here. Hey. Night, everybody.